Hey friends, in this video we're responding to a question from a friend of ours asking, is it wrong to evangelize? Is it a sin to engage in evangelism? Big question, let's jump in. Some time ago, I released a video titled Navigating Stoplights in Evangelism. I was basically explaining how we can be the smartest in trying to share the gospel and trying to engage in evangelism by being smart in our conversations, asking good questions, and really just recognizing where people are at so we can know how to love them and the kinds of conversations we're going to be able to have with them. So that was that video. If you want to check it out, you can see it right here. But in response to that video, we had a friend leave a comment saying, "Evangelism is a sin, in my opinion. It's declaring a special knowledge of God when in fact you're just spewing dogma." So that's a great question, and thank you for leaving that comment so that we can talk about it. So basically, what we're talking about is it wrong to evangelize? Of course, evangelize simply meaning trying to persuade someone to change their view to be more like your own, right? You can evangelize what your favorite movie theater is, try to persuade someone why this is actually the better movie theater. Or it could be in the area of religion, trying to persuade someone of the truth of this particular religion and why they should follow it. So evangelism simply means trying to persuade someone to hold a different view, okay? That's what it means to evangelize. Now, the word evangelism actually comes from the Greek, two words. First, euangelion, which means a good message or a gospel, and evangelizo, which means to announce, to declare. So, in other words, these two words put together into evangelism simply means to declare a good message. To evangelize is to declare a good message, trying to share a good message with somebody, try to persuade them to see the world in this way. Now, is it wrong to do that? Our friend claimed that it was, that it's wrong to evangelize. He said that it's sinful to evangelize. Now, we need to define our terms here. If by evangelism and by saying that it's wrong, we simply mean that it's wrong to try to persuade others out of their view to see things the way we do, then our friend here is actually contradicting themselves, right? He told me that in his opinion, it's wrong to evangelize. And he posted that on a video about me saying, this is how we should evangelize. Now, of course, he's evangelizing to me, right? Trying to persuade me to see the world he does, to persuade me to agree with him that it's actually wrong to evangelize. So in trying to convince me that it's wrong to evangelize, he was actually evangelizing to me that it's wrong to try and persuade others to have different views. In other words, he was trying to persuade me that it's wrong to try and persuade others out of their views. It's wrong to persuade them to see things the way we do. So he was actually doing the exact same thing that he was saying was wrong. Now, this is really the biggest point. The statement is self-defeating. I just want to point this out to you guys. It's going to be a big tool for you guys as you navigate claims, things that we often say. We need to ask ourselves, are they self-defeating? For example, if someone says, there is no truth, you can say, well, hold on, how does that hold to its own standard? Is that true? Because if what you're saying is true, there is no truth, well then there is truth. But you're saying there's no truth. So it defeats itself. So the point is you need to see what someone is claiming and ask, does it hold up to its own standard? This friend was saying that it's wrong to try and persuade others to change their views to be like our own. When in fact, he's trying to persuade me that my view is wrong and that I should see things the way that he does. So it didn't hold up to its own standard. In fact, in his statement, he even said that evangelism is wrong in my opinion. It's declaring special knowledge of God when in fact you're just spewing dogma. When in reality he was saying that this was his opinion, he was trying to push it on me. Now the question is, when I'm evangelizing about Christianity, when I'm trying to share the gospel, what Christianity is with other people, and tell them why I think they should believe it, why I think they should follow Christ for themselves, am I just spewing my opinion? Am I just spewing dogma? Am I appealing to some special knowledge of God that no one else has, that's really just subjective, it's just me? I'm trying to get everybody else to be just like me. Is that what I'm doing when I evangelize about Christianity? That's what he was doing with his comment, right? He was saying, this is my opinion. that what you're doing is wrong, you should see things the way that I do. In that sense, that's just spewing dogma. But is that what I'm doing when I'm evangelizing about Christianity? No, as we've talked about in this channel, as we'll continue to talk about, Christianity isn't just an opinion like, I like vanilla, you like chocolate. You should like vanilla because here's why. No, Christianity is something that's either true or it's not true. It all stands or falls on the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. If Jesus didn't rise from the dead, Christianity is not true. As Paul himself says, then those who believe that it is are the most to be pitied. If Jesus didn't rise from the dead, we shouldn't believe this. We shouldn't be living for this. We should drop it. But if he did rise from the dead, then Christianity is true. It has real implications into real life, into death, and what comes next. So if it is true, and if I have reason to think that it is, if I have evidence for it, then I should want to share this with people. This is Christianity, that God created human beings to be in perfect relationship with himself. But as human beings, we wanted to be the boss of our own lives, so we shunned his authority. And as such, we're guilty of treason before him, the king of the universe. Now that incurs guilt. We're guilty of this treason. Now because we're finite beings, and we sinned against an infinite being, we have incurred an infinite guilt, an infinite punishment. Now the only way we can pay for that is by paying for it infinitely into the future. That's what we call hell, being separated from God and being subject to his judgment for an infinity into the future. However, God, an infinite being, can pay for this infinite punishment in a finite amount of time. An infinite being can pay for an infinite punishment in a finite amount of time. But a finite being can only pay for an infinite punishment in an infinity of time. So what does God do? He comes down to us in the form of a man, Jesus of Nazareth. He lives a perfect life, sinless, makes no mistakes. Then he dies the death of a criminal, what we deserve. He dies on a cross. And 3 days later, he rises from the dead, proving he is God, and proving that the payment for our sin had cleared. This infinite being had paid for our infinite guilt in a finite amount of time. And by rising from the dead, he proved that the payment had cleared, and that we could have new life and forgiveness and fellowship with him. That this is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. And now he invites us into a relationship with himself. Because the payment is cleared, he offers forgiveness and fellowship. Now the question is, as finite beings guilty of this infinite punishment, are we going to accept the payment that he holds out, or are we going to choose to pay it ourselves, still living in rebellion, still wanting to be the boss of my own life? That's Christianity. If it's true, then as I take his hand, as I walk with him, as I make him Lord of my life, then I've been forgiven. My future is different now. I live this life with God. It's because of that I know I'm going to be with him forevermore. After I die, he's going to take me to be with him in his kingdom. If that is true, and if I know that it's true, if I have good reason to think it is true, then I should be sharing that with people. In fact, if I think that's true, and I have good reason to believe that it is, then the most unloving thing I can do is not share that with people. If I have a relationship with God, if he's forgiven all my mistakes, and I have hope and forgiveness for the future, then I should want to share that with people. Out of love, I cannot fail to share that with people. So, is it wrong to evangelize? No. We see that trying to say that it's wrong to evangelize is actually a self-defeating statement, because you're evangelizing that it's wrong to evangelize. So you're doing the very thing that you're saying is wrong. We see that if Christianity is true, and we've good reason to believe that it is, as we've talked about on this channel, as we'll continue to talk about, then we should want to share this with people. It's not just mere opinion. I'm not just spewing dogma when I evangelize. I'm not just saying my opinion, oh, vanilla's the best, here's why you should agree with me. No. I'm saying that, hey, there's this safety helicopter that's come. He's calling us to go with him right now. So come with me and let's go get saved. It's an objective reality, not a subjective preference. So evangelizing Christianity is not just me spewing my opinion, trying to get other people just to hold my opinion. It's me stating an objective claim, backing up that claim with evidence, and saying that this truly transforms life. This is something that I needed, and that I have reason to believe that everyone needs. Let me tell you why. Is that something you're interested in? You want to know what it looks like to follow Jesus. You want to know what he's done in my life and what he promises to do in the lives of all the people who follow him and make him king. That's evangelism. It's not sinful. It's the most loving thing you can do if Christianity is true and you have good reason to believe that it is. So guys, that's the question. Do you believe that Christianity is true? Do you have good reason to believe that it's true? That God created us to be in perfect relationship with himself, but that we sinned against him, and that we can't do anything about that except pay ourselves for forever into the future in a place called hell, separated from God. But that the good news is that God paid the price for our sin, taking on flesh, dying on a cross, and rising from the dead, offering forgiveness, and new, restored fellowship with himself. So now we get to walk through this life, having a relationship with God, getting to call him Father and friend. And that relationship, because of his payment, will continue into the future in his kingdom, in a place called heaven. If that's true and I have good reason to believe that it is, then I need to be sharing this with people. So the question is it true? Do you have good reason to believe that it is? If so, are you sharing it? If not, then take a good deep look at what the gospel is, what it is that you've been given, and the fact that everyone around us, we used to be in the same boat, sinners headed towards hell. But then God saved us. We heard the gospel, we received it, and he's transforming our lives. We have hope for the future. That's what I want to give to every single person I come in contact with. That's what I want to share with them because I love them. And God loves me and God loves them. So let me share with them what he's done in my life, what he's offering them, and why they can believe it. It's not just me saying a sales pitch of like, this is all the pros of why this is a great thing, but that there's actually reason to believe it. Christianity is true and they can know that. They're not going to be cheated. So that's evangelism. Not wrong. It's actually the loving thing to do if you believe Christianity is true and have good reason to think that it is, which we do. Now, if you want to start doing evangelism, you want to know how to do that. How do you even start sharing your faith with people? How do you start telling them about Jesus and what he's done for us? How do you talk about sin? Then I'm going to point you to this playlist right here on sharing your faith. It's going to walk you through several ways you can share the gospel. It's going to walk you through what it means to evangelize. And it's going to give you some tools to do that. Now, if you want to know how we can be faithful in relationships, knowing when to evangelize and when not to, I'm going to point you back to the video that I talked about at the beginning of the video that got the comment. This is going to be how to navigate stoplights in evangelism, knowing when to share the gospel, when not to, how to ask good questions, knowing when to bring up Jesus, what he's done, and knowing when to not. So definitely check that out. If you guys have any questions, leave that in the comment section below. Having said that, thanks for watching. I hope this answered your questions on why evangelizing is the loving thing to do, not actually a wrong thing to do. And having said that, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Get evangelizing.